women have been raped by Eritrean and Ethiopian military men. Because of the ongoing genocide, out of the 6 million population of the Tigray region, 5.2 of them are facing a man-made famine. This is all because the dictator in Ethiopia wants to stay in power illegally and unconstitutionally. We, as a global citizens, have the power to come together and stop the suffering of the innocent people. We are here calling on the US government to impose targeted economic sanctions on Ethiopia and Eritrea, to impose arms embargo so that these genocidal forces do not continue to buy armaments and kill innocent people. You can join our social media movement by using the hashtag Tigray Genocide on Twitter. You can also join our grassroots movement and lobbying efforts by talking to your senators and Congress people and pushing them to impose sanctions on Ethiopia and Eritrea. Sanction Ethiopia!
Sanction Ethiopia!
Sanction Ethiopia!
Sanction Ethiopia!
Sanction Ethiopia!
Sanction Ethiopia!
Yes to the ICC!
Yes to the ICC!
Yes to the ICC!
Yes to the ICC!
Drop food, not bombs!
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 If I can't hear you, they can't hear you. Who are we?
Takaru!
Who are we?
Takaru!
Who are we?
Takaru!
What do we want?
Peace!
What do we want?
Peace!
What do we want?
Peace!
What do we want it?
Freedom!
What do we want it?
No!
What do we want it?
No!
Who are we?
Takaru!
Who are we?
Takaru!
Who are we?
Takaru!
What do we want?
Peace!
What do we want?
Peace!
What do we want?
Peace!
What do we want it?
No!
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 Stop the Tigray genocide!
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 This is a peaceful protest against the ongoing state-sponsored genocide in Tigray, Ethiopia. For the past 9 months, the government of Ethiopia colluded with the government of Eritrea to bomb, rape, murder, massacre, and annihilate the Tigray people. Of the 6 million innocent civilians in Tigray, over 90% of the population is in need of emergency humanitarian aid. There's no food, no water, no gas, no electricity. The people are being annihilated in complete darkness. We've been fighting for 9 months on the street, but we can't do it alone. We need our allies and our outside communities to speak up on our behalf. We united together in the 80s when our people were starving, and we need to do it together again. The people have no food, no water, no aid. They've completely blocked access to the region, and the government of Ethiopia and Eritrea have weaponized hunger and rape as a means to further their own political agenda. We need to unite together and use our voice to bring an end to this. We've done it for the last 9 months, and we can't let up. Who are we? Who are we? Who are we? What do we want?
Peace!
What do we want?
Peace!
What do we want?
Peace!
When do we want it?
No! I want justice!
I want justice!
I want peace!
I want peace!
We demand justice!
We demand justice!
We demand peace!
We demand peace!
Weaponized hunger is a crime!
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 Stop the war on Tigray!
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 Ethiopia is guilty of genocide!
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 Listen to those words. Ethiopia is guilty of genocide. Coming to you today on YouTube. Usually I'm on another platform, but as promised, I said I'd begin doing some things on YouTube Live, and we'll work through it, work through the kinks. If you've got some comments, hit them in the chat so I could see what you have to say. But it's been 425 days, 426 days, depending on which side of the pond you're on, of genocide. And can you imagine in the 21st century, we're talking about genocide, like systemic rape, food being used as a weapon, displacement of citizens, families, children, no communication, 425 days of isolation. The Rwanda genocide was 100 days. We're at 425 days, and there are a lot of individuals that tell me, they say, Brother Jeff, I didn't know, I didn't hear about, and what do you mean that there's a genocide? And that's the problem. Somebody go ahead. We're just going to hang out for just a few minutes, and then I'll jump on to the other platform, and then we'll continue looking at how we're going to use this YouTube channel. We'll continue to think about how we're going to use this YouTube channel. There are those that are going to tell you that what we've just shared with you is fake news. And what they mean by fake news is they're using the Donald J. Trump approach, which means whenever someone says something factual, if you don't want to hear it and if you want to hide it, you just use the term fake news. But let me tell you this. You cannot hide genocide. And where are we getting our information? We're getting our information directly from families. We're getting our information directly from the UN, the Security Council. We're getting our information directly from news outlets around the world. And there is a group of individuals that say that this is fake news. They're saying that this is fake news. They're saying that CNN is fake news. Cara, I want to say hello to you. They're saying Al Jazeera is fake news. They're saying CNBC is fake news. They're saying the New York Times is fake news. What I want you to do is I want you to Google Tigray, Tigray. I want you to Google Ethiopia, and I want you to see that as we speak, going into 2022, the country is on the verge of collapse. While individuals are clapping and they're cheering and they're saying, hooray, that's okay. Well, actually, it's not okay because genocide is never okay. So my question to you before we really get deep into this conversation and start to engage just a little bit, what is it that you know about Ethiopia? What is it that you know about Tigray? What do you know about the country beyond the various myths that are attached to it? And what I want you to do first and foremost is realize that genocide is never okay. Now, I know that there are tragedies happening all over the world, and I'm pretty sure you're familiar with them. But when you talk about genocide and starvation being used as a weapon, you're looking at an all-time low. So, with that being said, we have come over to Facebook for just, well, not Facebook. We're usually over on Facebook. Over here on YouTube for just a moment. And we're not going to hang out long. We're just testing the system. I want to know, with those of you in the chat, are you familiar with Ethiopia in any way, shape, or form? And if so, what is it that you understand or realize is taking place in the country right now, and why? Like, for example, there'll be those who will say this is none of our business. We shouldn't be talking about this. And I want you to know that systemic rape, every woman on the planet should be concerned about women and children, even the elderly being raped. When someone tells you to mind your business when rape is taking place, I think that that is a tragedy in and of itself. Starvation. As a matter of fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring your attention to a couple of reports. What I want you to think about right now is the Amnesty International report. For those who are going to tell you that this is fake news, I'm going to ask you to think about Amnesty International. And I want you to look up the report that says, I don't know if they realized I was a person. This is how deep this is. I didn't realize I don't know if they realized I was a person. This is just one of many reports. There's another one that talks about the holy city of Aksum and the massacre in the churches, etc. Listen to this. Hagos, the father of a 10-year-old child who was raped vaginally and anally in early November 2020, told Amnesty International that he was not able to get his daughter, who suffered terrible physical and psychological damage, to the hospital for 4.5 months. This is just coming out of the report. A 10-year-old child. A 10-year-old child being raped. A 10-year-old. I'm just looking at multiple things at multiple times as we get a hand on how this YouTube channel works. A 10-year-old child. A 28-year-old mother of two who was raped by Amhara forces near the border with Sudan. This is a 28-year-old. Reports emerged as Ethiopian and Eritrean soldiers increased their efforts to prevent Tigrayans from crossing into the border of Sudan. And what they've been utilizing is rape. Now think about this, because I just talked to you about Eritrean troops. That's going to have you ask the question, why are Eritrean troops inside of Ethiopia? Why is a foreign nation inside of a sovereign nation raping citizens of said nation? This is the tragedy that's taking place. As a matter of fact, it's more than a tragedy. That's why we're saying stop the genocide in Tigray. Stop the genocide in Tigray. After 425 days, it seems as though individuals are just learning about or are tired of hearing about what I'm talking about. And I'm going to continue to talk about all of these sad instances. I'm going to continue to talk about all of these sad instances. What is it that you know about Ethiopia? What is it that you know about Tigray? And do you think Ethiopia is prepared to survive? Like, can Ethiopia survive this current genocide that's taking place? And there are going to be some of those individuals that are going to tune in, and they're going to tell you about the TPLF. They're going to start having a political conversation in the midst of a human tragedy. So for those of you who are listening and those of you who are watching, I want you to be prepared for what individuals are going to be saying about this genocide. They're not going to come and say that it is horrific and it is a shame and that we need to stop it and that this is not something that's acceptable in the civilized world. They're going to tell you a political answer, and they're going to say something about the TPLF. They're going to say the reason genocide is taking place and rape is taking place is because of a prior government that ruled for over 27 years. Stop the genocide in Tigray. I think there's going to be a couple of things that I'm going to show you as we continue and talk a little bit about what's going on. I'm going to show you a couple of things, and then we're going to move out the way. But I'd like for you to know that there is a genocide taking place, and I want you to know that we are the voice of the voiceless, and we will not sit down and we will not be quiet while this takes place. The reason this title talks a little bit about who are the Amhara, because some of you are going to see a counter protest and they're going to say they are Ethiopians, and you're going to have to ask your question, or a serious question, about who is and what is an Ethiopian, because these counter protests, they definitely do not represent a wide swath of Ethiopians. They're generally counter protests, and they are mostly what's known as Amhara. That's an ethnic group, or also a culture of Ethiopia through the language of Amharic. And I'm not saying anybody is good, bad, or indifferent. I'm just telling you what you're watching when you see some of these things that are taking place. And with that being said, I'm going to show you something just quickly, and then we're going to come back and have a discussion about what you're seeing. I'm going to show you just a quick, if you will, I'm going to show you a quick protest that took place. I want you to watch a little bit of it. Then we're going to come back and we're going to unpack it. But while you watch this, I want you to look for the Ethiopian flag. I want you to look for the Ethiopian flag as you watch what I'm prepared to show you.
Thank you so much. And one more thing, one of the reasons we're here today is because we're sick and tired of being silenced. The global media is one thing. Right here in Denver, Colorado, the local news stations are supposed to support the community, and I'm sure they're here listening. We're not happy about how you're treating our community. That's enough. For the whole year, especially Channel 9, Channel 4, each one of them have done at least 5 stories based on false TPLF narrative. So combined 10 news stories on every single one of them. The people they've talked to are TPLF supporters, and they aired their disinformation without any fact check. They did not speak to a single person from the Ethiopian community. They did not speak to a single person from the Eritrean community. This is not fair, is it? So what do we say to Channel 9? What do we say to Channel 9? Say it louder. What do we say to Channel 9? What do we say to Channel 4? What do we say to the Denver Post? No more disinformation.
What I wanted to do is show you just a little bit about counter protests that are taking place. And it is true that China, Iran, the United Arab Emirates, Turkey, and Russia are assisting in this horrific genocide that is taking place in Tigray. But what I wanted to ask the question was, where is the Ethiopian flag? The Ethiopian flag is nowhere present inside of the counter protests that say that they are in support of Ethiopia. And basically what you're seeing is a portion of Ethiopia or Ethiopians that have a disregard for the lives of the Tigray, and there are all the other atrocities that are happening throughout the country. So with that being said, I just wanted to touch base with you, stop by, and let you know that we're going to continue to be the voice of the voiceless. We're going to ask, I will go live in just a moment on our other platform, which is basically, if you go to Facebook under JEFFFARD, you're about to see us go live in just a moment to talk about this 425th day as we begin to use YouTube, Facebook, and others. Again, we're saying stop the genocide in Tigray. We'll be the voice of the voiceless. And it's 425 days, 425 days. And as we go live, we'll continue to share this and we'll continue to say, stop the genocide in Tigray.
Allow humanitarian access!
Allow humanitarian access!
Abiy Ahmed to the ICC!
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 Reconnect Tigray!
Reconnect Tigray!
Reconnect Tigray!
Reconnect Tigray!
Reconnect Tigray!
Reconnect Tigray!
Over 20,000 young girls and women have been raped by Eritrean and Ethiopian military men because of the ongoing genocide. Out of the 6 million population of the Tigray region, 5.2 of them are facing a man-made famine. This is all because the dictator in Ethiopia wants to stay in power illegally and unconstitutionally. We, as a global citizens, have the power to come together and stop the suffering of the innocent people. We are here calling on the US government to impose targeted economic sanctions on Ethiopia and Eritrea, to impose arms embargo so that these genocidal forces do not continue to buy armaments and kill innocent people. You can join our social media movement by using the hashtag Tigray Genocide on Twitter. You can also join our grassroots movement and lobbying efforts by talking to your senators and Congress people and pushing them to impose sanctions on Ethiopia and Eritrea. Sanction Ethiopia!
Sanction Ethiopia!
Sanction Ethiopia!
Sanction Ethiopia!
Sanction Ethiopia!
Sanction Ethiopia!
Isaias to the ICC!
Isaias to the ICC!
Isaias to the ICC!
Isaias to the ICC!
Drop food, not bombs!
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 If I can't hear you, they can't hear you. Who are we? Who are we?
Takaru!
Who are we?
Takaru!
What do we want?
Peace!
What do we want?
Peace!
What do we want?
Peace!
What do we want it?
Freedom!
What do we want it?
No!
What do we want it?
No!
Who are we?
Takaru!
Who are we?
Takaru!
Who are we?
Takaru!
What do we want?
Peace!
What do we want?
Peace!
What do we want?
Peace!
What do we want it?
No!
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 Stop the Tigray genocide!
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 This is a peaceful protest against the ongoing state-sponsored genocide in Tigray, Ethiopia. For the past 9 months, the government of Ethiopia colluded with the government of Eritrea to bomb, rape, murder, massacre, and annihilate the Tigray people. Of the 6 million innocent civilians in Tigray, over 90% of the population is in need of emergency humanitarian aid. There's no food, no water, no gas, no electricity. The people are being annihilated in complete darkness. We've been fighting for 9 months on the street, but we can't do it alone. We need our allies and our outside communities to speak up on our behalf. We united together in the 80s when our people were starving, and we need to do it together again. The people have no food, no water, no aid. They've completely blocked access to the region, and the government of Ethiopia and Eritrea have weaponized hunger and rape as a means to further their own political agenda. We need to unite together and use our voice to bring an end to this. We've done it for the last 9 months, and we can't let up. Who are we? Who are we? Who are we? What do we want?
Peace!
What do we want?
Peace!
What do we want?
Peace!
What do we want it?
No! I want justice!
I want justice!
I want peace!
I want peace!
We demand justice!
We demand justice!
We demand peace!
We demand peace!
Weaponized hunger is a crime!
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 Stop the war on Tigray!
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 Ethiopia is guilty of genocide!
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 Ethiopia is guilty of genocide!